Have you ever met someone who's always talking about their big plans? They say, "I'm going to start a business," or "Next year I'll be in the best shape of my life." They go on and on about what they're going to do, but months go by and nothing changes. Why is that? Because talking feels like progress. It gives a false sense of accomplishment. When you tell people your plans, they might say, "That's amazing! You're going to do great things." And suddenly you feel good. You feel like you've already won. But here's the truth. Success isn't in the talking. It's in the doing. See, the most successful people don't go around telling the world what they're up to. They don't need to. They just put in the work. They stay quiet, they stay disciplined, and when the results come, that's when the world takes notice. So today I want to share with you why you should never tell people what you do. Why keeping quiet can be your greatest advantage. And how success is built, not with words, but with action. Let's get started. In a world that never stops talking, it's easy to forget the power of silence. We live in a time where everyone is constantly sharing their thoughts, their plans, and their opinions. Social media is flooded with updates, posts, and voices, each one trying to be heard above the noise. But amidst all this noise, there is a quiet power that most people overlook. Silence. I remember a time early in my life when I was just starting to build my career. I was full of ideas, full of ambition, and above all, I was eager to share my thoughts with anyone who would listen. I thought that the more people I told about my goals, the more support I would receive, and the easier it would be to achieve them. But what I didn't realize then was that by constantly talking about what I was going to do, I was missing out on the real work, the quiet work that makes success possible. One day, a mentor of mine said something that stayed with me: "Jim, don't talk about it, do it." At the time, I didn't understand the full weight of his words, but as I went through my journey, I began to see the truth. Talking about your plans doesn't bring you closer to your goals. It only takes up space and time that could be spent on actually making progress. When you talk too much, you give others a chance to inject their doubts and opinions into your life. Suddenly, instead of moving forward, you find yourself caught up in a web of distractions, seeking validation from people who are not part of your journey. I've learned over the years that silence isn't just the absence of noise. It's a space for focus and clarity. It's when you stop talking and start doing that things begin to shift. The quiet moments, those moments when no one is watching, are the ones that count the most. When you focus your energy on the work, when you stop worrying about what others think, you tap into a deep, unwavering power. Think about the most successful people you admire. Are they the ones who are constantly talking about what they're going to do, or are they the ones who quietly work behind the scenes, letting their actions speak for them? Success, I've found, is not about announcing your intentions to the world. It's about showing up every day, doing the work, and letting the results speak for themselves. There's a certain discipline that comes with embracing silence. It's the discipline of focusing on your craft, your goals, and your dreams without needing constant validation. It's understanding that the work you do in private will eventually shine through in public, but only if you have the patience to stay silent and steady along the way. I've seen people who are constantly talking about their plans, but they never seem to make any real progress. They get caught up in the excitement of sharing their dreams, of hearing others praise them, but they never quite get around to doing the work that's required to turn those dreams into reality. It's easy to talk about what you want to achieve, but the true challenge is in staying quiet, staying focused, and staying committed when no one is watching. Silence, then, becomes a powerful tool for success. It's the quiet that allows you to listen to your own thoughts, the stillness that gives you the space to make important decisions, and the solitude that fosters creativity and focus. It's in those moments of silence where you find the strength to keep going, even when the world around you seems to be moving at a fast pace. When you choose silence, you also choose discipline. You choose the path of quiet perseverance. You choose the path where your actions speak louder than your words. And when you do that, you start to realize that the more you work, the less you need to talk. The more you focus on producing results, the less concerned you become with getting attention or praise. And that's when the magic happens. When your results begin to speak for themselves. So, I encourage you, take a step back from the noise. Stop talking about what you're going to do and start doing it. Embrace the silence, trust the process, and let your actions be the loudest thing about you. In the end, it's not what you say that matters, it's what you do. It's a temptation that's hard to resist, the need for approval. We've all felt it at some point in our lives. You make a decision, take an action, or step into something new, and almost immediately you look around to see who's noticing, who's applauding, who's nodding their head in agreement. You want to hear those words, "Good job," or "That's a great idea." But here's the truth. Seeking validation can be a dangerous trap. I learned that the hard way. Early in my career, I found myself constantly checking to see if others approved of what I was doing. I thought that their approval meant I was on the right path, that their praise was evidence of my success. But the more I sought their validation, the more I realized how much it was controlling me. I remember one particular moment that taught me a valuable lesson. I had just completed a big project, something I had poured countless hours into. My instinct was to share it with everyone, to tell the world about it and hope for recognition. But instead, I decided to hold back. I chose not to seek approval from others right away. I wanted to see if the work spoke for it. Days passed, and I noticed something strange happening. My anxiety grew. I kept thinking, shouldn't someone be congratulating me by now? Doesn't anyone notice what I've done? I was waiting for that external confirmation, the external reward, before I could feel good about my efforts. And in that waiting, I realized how much my sense of self-worth was tied to the opinions of others. It was like I was constantly outsourcing my confidence to people who weren't even part of my journey. That moment was a turning point. I realized that if I kept waiting for others to validate my actions, I would never truly be in control of my life. If I needed constant approval to feel good about myself, I would always be at the mercy of others' opinions. And the truth is, that kind of dependence is dangerous. It keeps you stuck. It keeps you from being the person you're meant to be. Seeking validation is a way of giving away your power. When you rely on others to tell you whether you're on the right path, you lose your sense of direction. You stop trusting yourself. The moment you begin to depend on others for validation, you hand over the reins of your life, and you stop becoming the person you were meant to be. When you base your self-worth on external approval, you are always looking for the next hit of recognition. It becomes a cycle that never ends. You do something, and then you wait for feedback. And when that feedback doesn't come, or when it's not as glowing as you hoped, you feel deflated. You second-guess yourself. You wonder if you're on the right path. I've come to realize that no one can give you the validation you need to move forward. You must validate yourself. You must be the one who recognizes the value in your work, who believes in your own progress, regardless of whether anyone else does. This is a hard truth to swallow, but it's the truth that sets you free. When you start validating your own efforts, when you stop seeking applause from others, you'll find something powerful, a sense of peace. Validation from others is fleeting. It's based on their perspective, not yours. And their perspective is shaped by their own experiences, biases, and expectations, which may have nothing to do with your unique journey. It's easy to become discouraged when you rely on others' opinions, especially when those opinions are inconsistent or uninformed. But when you stop seeking their approval, you take full responsibility for your path. You decide what success looks like, and you no longer need anyone else to define it for you. There's a saying I like to reflect on. Your opinion of me is none of my business. It's a reminder that I don't have to care about how others view me. I don't need their validation to keep going. In fact, the more I focus on external validation, the more I distance myself from the true source of strength. My own belief in what I'm doing. True confidence comes from knowing that you are on the right path because you've chosen it, not because someone else has given you permission. When you stop looking for validation, you begin to trust yourself more deeply. You become the person who knows without a doubt that the work you're doing is meaningful, whether anyone acknowledges it or not. That's power. So ask yourself, are you seeking validation from others to feel good about your journey? Or are you validating yourself, trusting that what you're doing is enough? The moment you let go of the need for others' approval is the moment you step into true freedom. It's the moment you take full control of your life, your decisions, and your future. You no longer need anyone else's applause because you already have the approval that matters most. The approval from within. There's an old saying, talk is cheap. It's a simple statement, but it carries so much weight when you stop to think about it. In today's world, it's easy to talk about what we want to do, what we're planning, and how we're going to change the world. But how many of us are actually doing the work that leads to the kind of results we speak of? I remember when I first started in business, I had grand ideas. I would talk to anyone who would listen about the things I wanted to achieve. I told my friends, my family, my colleagues about the great things I was going to do. I painted this picture of success, built it up in my mind, and shared it with others like it was already a done deal. But the truth was, I wasn't putting in the work. I wasn't backing up my words with action. I was so focused on sharing my vision that I neglected the process that would actually bring it to life. And it showed. There's a moment in every person's journey when they realize something powerful. Success doesn't come from talking about it. It comes from doing it. I learned that the hard way. I spent so much time talking about my dreams that I lost sight of the fact that I was failing to turn those words into action. And the people around me, those who had been listening to my talk, were starting to wonder, when is he going to show us the results? Let me tell you something about results. They don't lie. Results don't need any explanation. Results don't need you to tell anyone how hard you're working or how much you're sacrificing. When the results are there, they speak for themselves. If you've worked hard, if you've stayed disciplined, if you've put in the time, then your success will be obvious. People will see it. They'll know that you're serious about your goals. They won't have to ask what you're doing because your results will tell the whole story. It's easy to get caught up in the idea that you need to explain your journey to others, to justify your actions, or to seek approval. But the reality is, results don't need anyone's approval. They don't need an explanation. Your actions, your achievements, and your success will be the testimony to all the hard work you've put in. The beauty of results is that they are impartial. They don't care about your excuses, your setbacks, or your challenges. They only care about the effort you put in. I once met a man who was just starting out in business. He was eager, full of energy, and always talking about his big plans. He would tell anyone who would listen about his goals, his dreams, and how he was going to revolutionize the industry. He had a new idea every week, a new product, a new service he was going to offer. But the problem was, nothing ever came to fruition. He had all the right words, but none of the right results. And after a while, people stopped listening. They stopped caring about his ideas because they were tired of hearing about things that never materialized. This is the danger of relying too much on words. Words are empty without action. Words are nothing without results. You can talk all you want, but if you're not backing it up with hard work, consistency, and effort, then you're simply spinning your wheels. No one cares about what you say unless it's backed up by the proof of what you've done. The most successful people I know are the ones who don't spend a lot of time talking about their plans. Instead, they focus on the work. They focus on making progress, no matter how small. And over time, their results accumulate and start to speak for themselves. When they do share their success, it's not to boast or seek validation. It's simply a byproduct of the work they've done. It's important to remember that the world doesn't owe you anything just because you talk about it. No one owes you success because you have a great idea or a grand vision. The world rewards action. The world rewards results. If you want to achieve something, you have to put in the effort, day in and day out, regardless of whether anyone is watching or cheering you on. And when you do that, the results will come. You might be thinking, but Jim, I don't know if I can do it. What if I fail? Let me tell you this. Failure is part of the process. Results don't come without failure. It's not about avoiding failure. It's about learning from it and keeping your focus on the end goal. Every setback, every mistake, every challenge is just a stepping stone on the path to success. It's part of the journey, and it's how you grow. In the end, let your results be the loudest part of your story. Let them be the thing that people remember when they think of you. Words are easy, anyone can talk, but not everyone is willing to put in the hard work, to face the setbacks, and to keep pushing forward when things get tough. The people who succeed are the ones who let their actions do the talking. So stop talking about what you're going to do and start doing it. Let the results speak for themselves and watch as the world takes notice. In a world full of distractions, it's easy to get swept up in the noise. Everywhere you turn, there's something pulling at your attention, demanding your focus. Social media, the news, conversations with friends. All these things can drown out the quiet whispers of what truly matters. But if you want to make real progress, if you want to achieve greatness, it's the quiet moments of discipline that will get you there. You see, real progress doesn't need to be announced. It doesn't need to be flaunted. In fact, some of the most significant advancements in life happen in complete silence. It's the daily grind, the consistent effort, the behind-the-scenes work that nobody sees. This is where true growth happens. It's not the flashy moments or the grand gestures that define success. It's the small, quiet decisions made every single day. I'll tell you a story from my early years. I was just starting out in my career, and I had all these big dreams. I wanted to make something of myself, to build a life I could be proud of. But at the time, I didn't have the skills, the connections, or the resources that many others around me seemed to have. What I did have, though, was discipline. The kind of discipline that no one notices until results start to appear. I knew that if I wanted to achieve anything, I had to do the work, and I had to do it consistently. So I got up early every morning, long before the sun rose. I worked late into the night, long after others had gone to bed. I didn't talk about it. I didn't boast about how many hours I was putting in. I didn't need anyone's approval. I just showed up day after day, putting in the work. It wasn't glamorous, and it certainly wasn't easy, but little by little, I started to see progress. It wasn't dramatic at first. It was just a little improvement here, a small breakthrough there. But those quiet steps, those incremental changes, began to add up. One of the most important lessons I learned during that time is that success isn't about making noise or seeking recognition. It's about showing up when no one is watching, doing the work when no one else is willing to. The real magic happens when you keep moving forward, even when you're not getting the applause or the accolades. In fact, most of the time, you won't get any of that. And that's okay, because progress isn't measured by the praise you receive, it's measured by the small, consistent actions you take. Discipline is the key to quiet progress. It's the ability to do what needs to be done even when you don't feel like it. It's the ability to stay committed to your goals, even when the world around you is telling you to take a break, to relax, to enjoy the moment. But if you want to see results, if you want to make a real impact, then you have to be willing to stay disciplined. You have to be willing to keep moving forward, even when it feels like nothing is happening. In those early years, I had doubts. I wondered if my efforts were even worth it. Some days felt like I was getting nowhere. But looking back now, I can see how those quiet moments of discipline were the foundation for everything that came later. It wasn't the grand gestures or the big announcements that got me ahead. It was the quiet, steady progress that made all the difference. The next gesture might include saving up a little money, to save up to buy a car, or maybe it would be saving up a cash savings account. This is the power of quiet progress. It doesn't need to be loud or flashy. It doesn't need to be recognized by others. The true reward comes in the form of results. And those results, once they begin to show up, speak for themselves. One of the greatest mistakes people make is thinking that success happens overnight. They look at someone who has made it and assume it was easy for them. They don't see the years of quiet effort, the countless hours of work that went in behind the scenes. They only see the finished product, the result. But real success is built over time, one quiet step at a time. I want to ask you to think about something. What are you doing right now in the quiet moments that's shaping your future? What small, consistent actions are you taking today that will pay off tomorrow? You may not see the results yet, but trust me, they're coming. The discipline you put in today will lay the groundwork for tomorrow's success. Remember, success is a process. It's not a destination you reach in a day or a week. It's a journey you take, one small step at a time. And while everyone else is busy looking for the next big thing, the next big break, you'll be quietly moving ahead, steadily building, step by step, toward your goals. The key is to embrace the process. Embrace the quiet work. Trust that the discipline you're putting in today will pay off in the long run. Because in the end, the people who achieve real success are the ones who are willing to do what's necessary day in and day out without needing the world to see. And when the results come, they'll speak for themselves. We live in a world that is constantly talking. The noise is overwhelming, isn't it? People are always sharing their opinions, their ideas, their stories. Everyone has something to say. And many times it seems like the more noise someone makes, the more attention they get. But let me tell you something. Real power isn't about how loudly you speak. It's about how clearly your actions speak for you. The person who doesn't need to say a word is the one whose life tells the story. The way they carry themselves, the way they interact with others, the way they face challenges. This is the language they speak. Their actions, their discipline, their consistency, and their results do all the talking. When you become that person, when you embody your values and live according to your principles, you'll find that words often become unnecessary. There's something incredibly powerful about letting your life do the talking. I remember a time in my own life when I realized this. Early on, I was always trying to explain myself. I wanted people to understand my dreams, my ambitions. I wanted validation. I wanted others to see what I was trying to do and give me the encouragement I was seeking. But the more I talked, the more I realized the talk was cheap, wasn't getting me closer to where I wanted to be. One day, I decided to stop talking so much. I stopped seeking approval. I stopped explaining myself to people who didn't need to understand. Instead, I focused on the work. I poured myself into my goals, my personal development, my growth. I knew that if I could show up every day, stay disciplined, and make progress, the results would speak for themselves. And you know what happened? People started noticing. Not because I was talking about what I was doing, but because they saw what I was accomplishing. They saw the changes in my life, the improvements in my business, and the impact I was having. And that, my friends, is the kind of recognition that lasts. The recognition that comes from your actions, not your words. You see, the more you talk, the more you open yourself up to judgment, criticism, and doubt. When you're constantly explaining, you're also constantly defending yourself. But when you let your actions speak for you, you create a kind of confidence that doesn't need to be validated by anyone. People may not always understand the journey you're on, but they'll recognize. Let me tell you, success is never about convincing others that you're on the right path. It's about walking that path with integrity and dedication, even when no one is watching. The person who doesn't need to say a word is the one who's committed to their purpose and who trusts the process. They understand that the right results will always draw attention, and that attention is far more powerful than any words they could ever say. I want you to think about your own life for a moment. How much time do you spend talking about what you want to do versus actually doing it? How much energy do you invest in explaining your dreams to others versus working toward making those dreams a reality? I challenge you to shift your focus. Instead of seeking approval or validation, focus on creating the results that will speak for themselves. This doesn't mean you should be silent all the time, but it does mean that your actions should speak louder than your words. When you're truly focused on your goals, when you're disciplined, when you're living in alignment with your values, the world will take notice. You won't have to announce your intentions. Your results will do that for you. There's something deeply fulfilling about this kind of quiet confidence. It's the kind of confidence that comes from knowing you've put in the work, that you've stayed true to yourself, and that you've achieved something that no one can take away from you. It's the kind of confidence that isn't dependent on others, because it's rooted in your own sense of purpose and commitment. Becoming the person who doesn't need to say a word is about aligning your actions with your values. It's about walking with integrity, discipline, and purpose. And it's about understanding that the right results will always speak louder than anything you could say. When you get to that point, when your actions and results speak for you, you'll find that you don't need to explain yourself anymore. You'll find that you no longer need to seek validation or approval. Because the person you've become, the progress you've made, and the results you've achieved will tell the world exactly who you are. And that, my friends, is the kind of success that matters. It's the kind of success that stands the test of time, because it's not built on words. It's built on real, tangible results. So I ask you, what are you doing today in silence to shape the person you want to become? What actions can you take that will speak louder than any words you could ever say? The world doesn't need more talkers. It needs more doers. It needs people who are willing to put in the work, who are willing to stay quiet and disciplined, and who let their results speak for themselves. That is the true power of silence. And it is the path to last. As we come to the end of this journey together, let me leave you with this thought. The most powerful story you can ever tell is the one that's written by your actions, not your words. The world is filled with noise, filled with people talking, explaining, and seeking attention. But the ones who make the biggest impact are the ones who let their results speak for them. You don't need to constantly explain yourself, seek validation, or shout about your intentions. All you need to do is stay focused, disciplined, and committed to your purpose. Your actions will carry the weight, and your results will draw the attention. Remember, success isn't about talking your way to the top. It's about climbing there with quiet determination and letting the summit speak for itself. Keep moving forward. Stay silent when necessary. Let your results be your voice. Thank you for taking the time to reflect on this with me. Now, go out there and let your actions do the talking. Your silence is powerful. Your progress is unstoppable. Keep going and let the world see the masterpiece you're creating.